We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Microwave Extravaganza podcast. It's episode 13. I would talk about our sponsors, but then I'd probably get Alex Jones. And I would speak my mind, but then the Borg might get a little angry. So we're not going to do that. Donovan Warland has something amazing to say.
All right. So where I was going with that idea was the issue with Alexander Dugin, and people will criticize a lot of times sort of newly in love libertarian and cap, like people who aren't bringing it down to the corner store level. What will the world look like, when my ideas it has happened? That Alexander Dugin's at this level of cumulus clouds and cirrus cloud level. It's like 10,000 low Earth orbit, so that sometimes you're sitting there like, what the hell is this Russian man saying? And you're just like, and there's stuff that I've even taken pictures. Hagbard Celine, I took a photo of one of the pages of Alexander Dugin. I was just crunching this, and I'm like, okay, let me base this. Let me go to somebody who knows what is real from what is not real. And I send this to Hagbard Celine. I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, this is madness. And I was just like, oh shit. And I'm halfway through the book. I'm like, fuck. But that's, I found that progressives sometimes at a level that they too are at 10,000 feet, and they will not try to make you understand. No, this means there will be stores on every corner that will have script in foreign alphabets. Like they won't say that, but it's like, I'm from San Francisco, so I know what they visited, and I know like, oh, okay, no, I think you mean something like, that there's, what is this? Okay, there we go.
Hey. Did you go out of the video call?
Yeah, he dropped out for just a second. Yeah.
Okay.
But then, I mean, but that's, I get like, okay, no, progressives are kind of talking about that area between Little Italy and Chinatown, and that the projects are about 5 blocks down the street. Yes, it's very picturesque. It's a very beautiful part of San Francisco. I get where their vision is, but Dugin, I can't understand where, and it's also, I've never been there. I've never been anywhere near that exotic, so I don't know what his vision would look like, and I don't think he maps it out very well.
I think that I know exactly where it is. He wants to conquer all of Europe and all of Asia and bring it into one. When you look at it, I'll show you guys a little video that kind of goes more into detail about what I'm talking about from another person who I believe is he's definitely another Slav. I don't know. I know he speaks Russian, but I don't know if he is a Russian himself. But I actually talked to him online a little bit. He's like, yeah, you guys get 2 totally different translations. Dude will not tell you what he really believes, but what he kind of talked about is kind of getting all the Slavic nations to be, compatible with Russia. I'm like, wait a minute, bitch, what do you mean compatible? What are you trying to say? I'm like, wait, hold on. Okay.
Slav supremacy.
Basically. I like that. Yes, there you go, Slav supremacy. Yes.
And you're just sitting there like, wait a minute. Like, is that kind of like when they say, I didn't kill him, I neutralized him?
Yes. Sanctioned him. Yes.
Yes. And then I started reading more of the English translation. I am not going to show my face because I'm not wearing a shirt because it is hot as balls here in Wisconsin right now. Ladies, I'm sorry, but you can't get that snack yet. But by the way, I sent you guys a link to the not to the Hangouts, but the stream, so you can tweet that out.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, and as I was reading, he was talking more about Russian and will be a language spoken by every nation, but by choice. And I thought to myself, so you're saying everyone will have to be compatible? Everyone, sorry, I'll let you jump in a second, but everyone will have to be compatible. They'll all start speaking your language. He said it's like, and he was talking about like the Kremlin being heavily involved in like other populations' governments, and I'm like, so you're softballing just owning these nations as puppet states. That's what it is. It's softballing in Russia should rule everything. Trust me, it's a good idea. Lauren, please sit down and get into your underwear. Forget about what I'm saying. Listen to my foreign accent. And, Brittany, I do that to you, but okay, you're not. You are Catholic? Oh, never mind. We're not Catholic here. We are Orthodox. You can make it too.
Your regional church.
But you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, it's all this softballing of Russian domination. It's not. We need to come together as a community. You know, it's like an SJW's lullaby until you dye your hair pink.
And I gotta admit, one thing I've noticed in the kind of the real politique thing where, because I got super into, okay, so what's up with, I found Dugin, and at around the same time I found Fort Rus. Are you all familiar with Kristina Karlova's operation?
No, please
okay,
tell us.
that is the actual press outlet for then the central organization, the Center for Syncretic Studies, and I do mean Evola.
I'm
that
not sure
is
what syncretic means or Evola.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Syncretism is actually what is the background philosophy that Dugin is truly about. Like him and whoever his buddies are, when he meets up with people for tea, what their discussion is this idea that was the late 1800s. If you're familiar with like British Freemasonry making its inroads to the Arabic world, and there being varieties of rites that sprung up, and they're very interesting. Well, one of the things is a part of this was people who were fundamentally spies, and they were the Orientalists. They knew a lot of these languages. They're making ambassadorial visits. They're making friends in the lodges. They're bringing big guys into these lodges in Egypt, Cairo, Jordan, Lebanon. It's springing up. It's going crazy. People love masonry, and so they tried to figure out. Well,
Kabbalah.
Well, and then that's the thing is you're starting then, of course, to get people who are achievers. Remember, this is the robber barons era. If you can make money, if you have trade deals, if your family is, say, connected from country to country, and you could sell rugs, you could sell tea, you could sell all the stuff to make espresso machines, all these things that Europe was getting into, right? That especially the French, then those like Lebanese connections that we went to school with these kids. We went to school with their great-grandchildren. They moved here once everything fell apart. But for them to get westernized was a big effort, and that grew into a philosophy called syncretism. Can we merge the religions in a way that we all are familiar with this through video games? Like, look, this image is in this religion and in this religion. They must be bound some way by some root.
So it's subversion is like slow and gradual subversion, I'm guessing? That kind of sounds like
it. So you can use it to subvert religions. You could use it to simply point out similarities.
So they're trying to get like at the origins, basically. Sounds like isn't like essentially like, oh, we're all, we all need to get in on this particular religion because it's the origin of all the others, essentially. Is that
there's that as well, and then you see that with especially the interest in Sufism that came up, where what we see is in our generation is, oh yeah, our grandparents thought the dervishes, like with their spinning dances, was like the greatest thing to watch at like the big hall, downtown, as the big art thing in the 80s. Look, whirling dervishes,
I think one of the most interesting things about I'm looking at Durgin's Wikipedia page, and basically says, oh, he's anti-communist, but then he writes the political program for the newly reformed Communist Party of the Russian Federation. So, like, he's just an authoritarian who's going to wherever power is, basically.
He's an opportunist. That's all he is. He's a weasel going wherever he can.
That's what it looks like, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's also, I think one of the things, too, is he's one of these people, possibly, I'm wondering if he, judging from the way he wrote his book, he does look at it from a high enough altitude that I wonder if what he's kind of doing is, if I write this step in creating the next Russian Empire, then will people then cite me as, oh well, as Dugin says, you know, and you know that
to be like a new Karl Marx, basically, or something
of sorts. Yes, of sorts. Yes.
Is he planting like a seed of Russian domination by getting people to slowly lax their beliefs against Russia, and then eventually open up and say, but what about this one point? Kind of like the slow subversion of Christianity through pop culture kind of thing.
Totally. And also, he would have been completely aware. I'm right now reading Disinformation by Ion Pachepa, who actually was a part of the creation of liberation theology. Somebody like Dugin would have been a part of that project. I have no fucking doubts about this, because he claims to be Raskolniki, or old believer. So these people who their beliefs were so old fashioned that I forget what czar was like, I'll kill all of you because your beliefs are so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So they went way out into so far into the hinterland, they end up in Alaska. And so if you ever meet somebody who is Orthodox from Alaska, like a Native American who's Orthodox, they are Raskolniki.
Oh Jesus, that sounds like that's the thing. It wouldn't be that scary if people knew more about what Russia was actually like and how, you know. But to us, Americans, it's all. I mean, Baba Yaga.
I mean, I suppose the reason why it's just simple to have an enemy. You know, we want go back to that Cold War mentality, but like Russia is not what it used to be. It just isn't.
Yeah. Not 100%, but it has plenty of ruins of its old time, and it hasn't completely died out.
Like no, yeah, definitely not. But I mean, it's nowhere near. You know, it lost all those, you know, like Ukraine and all those other countries and stuff like that.
And also, they're going through fundamentally their 90s to early 2000s. So they've like the 90s happened. They were like, whoa, this is getting crazy. Putin's like, I'm locking this motherfucker down. I'm taking out who I want, putting in who I want. But the big thing is, culture wise, over about the last decade, all that heroin had to go someplace. And Russia,
heroinism, or heroin as in the drug?
Oh, the drug.
Oh, really?
All that Afghani heroin, like, we can't consume it all.
Oh, that's right. Russia did a lot of that during the Cold War when they took over Afghanistan, and that's they started supplying it to the West, so that way they could get us all hopped up, right?
And then fundamentally, the CIA unseated them with the use of bin Laden, and it's a deal fundamentally that's why we got so tied to Saudi oil rather than really using what we knew as our own contiguous stores. You know, we could have been drilling already. We didn't need the 70s and 80s gas prices to happen. The Bush family was in on oil. Saudis were in on oil. Bush family created the CIA. They got Russia pushed out of there by bin Laden. And
Bush family created the CIA. Do you mean like they got it to be where it is today, or do you mean?
Oh no. The connections, the OSS, after Walker, Herbert Walker, and Prescott Bush. They go through the process of getting a good whooping from Congress over them helping fund both the Bolsheviks and the National Socialists in Germany specifically. And so they're like, hey, you're funding the enemy. And it was, I think that's the Funding Foreign Enemies Act or something. So they end up working with people who are New Dealers. And through their ties to people who were New Deal people, like the actual writers of it all, they end up taking this thing, the OSS, it's the sort of the thing that we never talk about is the entire intelligence network on the Eastern Front, all the Ukrainians, all those Czechs, all that stuff, who had National Socialist governments, they end up in our pocket. At the end of the war, they end up in camps, and the Bush network starts plucking them out via this one guy in Germany who knew who all of them were, and he created Reinhard Gehlen. He created our entire CIA structure. He then created the structure for the Ba'ath that protected Saddam Hussein. Created the structure for Gaddafi's secret services. and a lot of our ties, a lot of our weird, dirty ties, start making more sense
through the bushes, and that's why we kicked it off with Afghanistan. I bet they. Sorry, I mean Saddam. Sorry.
No, you
Iraq.
You nailed it.
Yeah, in fact, I think. Don't you think that that's partially not just? I think that was kind of like a two birds with one stone kind of thing, where like Iraq was a place where like Saddam probably was going to start being anti-American and stop following Bush's orders. And then, so Bush thought, hey, start a war, get a bunch of oil, and kill someone who knows a little too much. Is that about right?
That's always my perception of it, is that it was like, well, he's been in our pocket for a long time, and then also they all fundamentally, because of the riches in Libya and the riches in Iraq, they both were like, well, I should start my own currency base. And they were going to do there's a big, it's rumor and there's some reality. Black Pigeon Speaks did some stuff on this.
Are you doing talking a little bit about the petrodollar thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were trying to work their way into a whole new level of markets where they were going to actually offer a gold-backed currency and counter the petrodollar. But also then there's this, and this is where it ties in sort of the country that shall not be named. There is a pipeline.
Be quiet about this.
There's a pipeline that goes from Iraq, and it goes all the way to the Mediterranean. It's called the Trans-Arabian Tap Line. And one of the things is that you tap into it, and at various points, if I remember correctly, because it goes through the Golan. It goes through Syria and neighboring Israel, or very close to Israel. And this tap line was, I think, destroyed in like 96 by Israel because of something going on. And so this is a lot of money. When you have a pipeline going through your country, you charge people money for it, and you kind of have some control of it. Well, also, people knew the Golan had oil. There was always talk about this, supposedly going back to the early 1900s, but no one had the technology to dig for it. Well, now Israel's sitting on the Golan, and fancy oil has been discovered in the Golan. Praise Yahweh. And
it's known as Golan Heights. If for those people who might be like, what is the Golan? You can
totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so this is like this sort of golden little area now. And so a lot of this stuff of, oh yeah, Israel had to go into Syria over like the last, like, say 6 months. If they had to go in and do something in a village just over the border, that's probably an area where the tap line runs through.
Yeah. Well, personally, I think just Israel should just take the Strip, Golan Heights, and the West Bank all for itself.
Greater Israel.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I think that they should give millions of dollars to the Palestinians that live there, and just tell them, just go to a different country. And they could all move to Jordan. The reason why I say that is because, let's be honest, Israel's probably better than Palestine, but Israel is not innocent. They have done some messed up stuff before in the past. And just like all humans are fallible. But I think that the whole issue with the Middle East and the Palestinian Authority, I think the Palestinian Authority will always want more. And I think that's because they've always been kind of destituted anyway. And I personally just don't think it's going to make any difference to just try to make a two-state solution. I think that's ridiculous. They have too much tribal hate for each other. I think it'd be better if Israel just took the Golan Heights, the Gaza Strip, and the West Bank and said, all right, you guys will now get a shit ton of money per person, like a bunch of that Jewish gold that you're always talking about. And here you go, move to any other country in the Middle East. And from then, these are our absolute borders. We will never conquer more land. We'll never ask any other country to recognize us. We will just protect these borders. And then every other country in the Middle East, which are all Islamic, can just give they they can just welcome these people in because they'll have tons of money to go in, and these and all these other countries speak Arabic. They are very similar in culture, but Israel will not have to worry about this bullshit. Connect these rivers, you know. This is the right that the Palestinians have this week, but next week we're going to change it.
So essentially, what you're saying is hashtag open borders Jordan.
Boom.
I think Jordan would be like, "Oh shit, nigga, we about to get a bunch of money."
I think the problem, I'm pretty sure Jordans would be a little hesitant because they're not a very populous country as far as I remember. So they probably wouldn't look too much on a bunch of Palestinians coming in, but you know,
well, that's the whole
borders.
thing. If they have money, Jordan would be singing a different song because Jordan, you know, like Jordan has a wall. They've built a wall. Like everybody in the Middle East has like is all on some fuck them all, I'm building a wall status. And so they have big ass walls. And so it's this thing of like, I looked into a bit of like the Jordanians, they don't need to be dicks. They just don't. And I'm like, wait, how big is Jordan? How populated is Jordan? And I'm looking around, I'm like, wait a second. The Palestinians could be doing, it turns out a bunch of Palestinians are permanent shit disturbers. And the king of Jordan is like, no. You guys are shit disturbers. You could stay over on that side of the fucking border.
All their criminals to the West Bank.
And I kind of started to get this idea like that he's, you know, he has people constantly watching, you know, like all the time, like, wait a second, who's that guy who just walked into this dusty, weird ass town, you know, and they find out like, oh, it's Ahmed the shit disturber, you know, and they send him back. And so it's kind of, so that's when people are like, you know, they're trying to tell us like, no, Hamas, you don't understand. These guys are no good. The Palestinians have no choice. That I started to like, I'm like, okay, no, they're not exactly lying. The PLO are sort of like, they're commies. They are legit. They are pan-Arab commies forged out of early socialism, and then they were funded by the KGB. They were represented in the World Communist Union. And so they're commies, but Hamas is more like, we like disturbing shit and we hate them Jews. And that's all they're on. They're only on like those apparently two consistent things. Like we don't stop and we are going to push them all into the sea is there where their head is at.
Isn't it still in their like charter or constitution or whatever?
Totally, yes.
It's like we want the destruction of Israel. Like it's still there.
It's like it's like 1, 5, 7, 10. Please refer back to the 1, 5, and 7. You know, like destroy them, destroy them, destroy them. You know, and it's like Hamas sucks. Yeah, that's all you can say. They're the guys who show up to the party, and you're like, oh fuck. They not only brought a guitar, but they're going to start fighting everyone. You know,
they're the ones who supply all those stupid red cups. They wear the fucking fedoras. So their guitars, and they always sing, and they're all lacrosse bros too. That's the worst
part. Nailed it. Good one.
Oh, and one of them's a hockey player, but one of them lets you know he's a hockey player.
Yes. Oh my god!
I mean,
these bands too.
These motherfuckers get in fights with everyone because they kicked the fucking the PLO out of the Gaza Strip. They're like, fuck, we won the election. Get the fuck out now.
And I got to admit, to actually, in a way, to tie this all back to with Dugin's point of view, his point of view on this, to a great extent, would be concurrent with what Arsion was saying. That it was just like, well, fuck that. We have national interests. And that's one of the mentalities is everyone has national interests that can never be like put aside. We have to take that now as one of the most primary issues we're talking about. It's that his issue is, how do you define this group you're calling the nation, and what that body, that cultural ethno body. So he would say Palestinians could possibly be a nation, but do they have the power to enforce their national interests?
You're getting a little blurry. Just letting you know, you're getting your screen's a little blurry.
Okay. Actually, yeah. Let me not get, and also not move around quite as much too.
There you go.
But that's something I've picked up on as well. So it seems like that's some of the way he's worked a little of his language to then justify how the Russian Federation ends up working, with there being multiple religions in it.
Yeah, but also, let's be honest, he wants to subvert basically every Slavic nation as a kind of almost a puppet state to a Russian Federation. I was going to say the Soviet Union, but they probably wouldn't call it that again. But I'm sure. Plus, when he talks about collectivism, I'm like, okay, I'll see what he has to say. Maybe he means voluntary collectivism, as in you will not have an identity unless you have an in-group that you choose to be a part of. But then he starts saying government-enforced collectivism, and then I'm like, nope, never mind.
And he's saying it for the entire world too, right? You were saying, right?
Yeah, no, I think he just wants Asia and Europe, but he said like even the Western
moderate Europe. Goals here, moderate goals.
Yeah.
Just first, let's start with, yeah.
I mean, Poland. I know you're Catholic, and we basically raped everyone there mercilessly and hated your guts, but I think we can be friends. I think we can be friends. Just doing this for us, then we'll ask for more, and then you'll just be like us.
And then they go over to Ukraine. It's like, oh, the Tartars got slaughtered and everything like that, but it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Come on, bro. It's just a break, bro. We conquered your lands. We force you to all convert to Orthodox Christianity until we realize that Christianity doesn't allow this, and then we had to get rid of that too. But, bruh, come on. It's just a prank.
Well, now I got to admit, one place we're seeing this play out, I think the first place we're seeing it, and then I got one example of the secondary, but it's a little odd. The first one is, I think it's Georgia, where there's this whole controversy that the left was bringing up about gay rights, and I think they were...
wasn't that Chechnya? Wait.
There we go, Chechnya. There you go.
Place that all good action movies start.
I know, totally.
I mean, because you had the president or prime minister where it was like, there are no gays in Chechnya. It's just like, oh my god, like seriously,
dude, he went ham, bro. He just is like, nope, they aren't, because that like camp they're all in is not any longer in Chechnya by law, or I don't even know, But I mean, but did you hear Putin say a word? Because his thing is, you're Chechnya, your people have these rules in your nation. We are Russians, and we have our rules in our nation. We're just a federation of friendly states. So he could just be like, oh, are you doing that to somebody? Well, I can't really say anything about it because, that's your territory and not mine, And
that's not very friendly. His government hasn't been very friendly towards gays either. So it's just like
dastardly faggots. Those dastardly faggots. What are we gonna do? I got an idea. Yeah, but I mean, I think some people will say, well, if that's part of their Orthodox faith, I'm like, no, I don't think so. I do see kind of their fear of subversion because the gay movement here hasn't been too good, but I think it's more or less deviance of any kind. And let's be honest, Russia is one of the strictest places in the world. It's very, very old-fashioned in that. So when people talk about tradition, I think they're talking about more than just, we go to the store and we buy this. On Saturdays, this is the dance we do in our house. Or whatever, And every day we must spend at least 5 hours on the roof squatting.
Well, no, you're totally right that there is a active movement to raise the population rate, and a big part of it is because of there was so much heroin became so cheap, the rates of heroin use shot up so fast among young people, and alcoholism as well, that this has been like devastating for their millennials. And so there's a millennials, and now they're Gen Z. That's what Putin was focusing on, and that he already was on that state of mind. And really, to a great extent, when I was watching the propaganda from all sides in the 2011 through 2015, Russia they're a big part of where those ideas have come into the right. They've fed the new right a lot of the demographic stuff, and so I'm like, okay, no, they're not saying anything untrue. They're just seeing what happens if they just toss that in there. Let's just toss that onto YouTube. Alexander Dugin just, let me just say this. I am just showing up at the right time to say this to the right population on the right platform. Fancy that. I'm out. And who is this guy, Alexander Dugin? And so I really watched like, oh, by the time 2017 happened, so many people had discovered the Center for Syncretic Studies, Fort Rus, tied to Alexander Dugin's Katahan, that they just put all their logos together and they just advertise as like a think tank publishing group, like Center for, and so they are the group behind the Eurasianist movement. That you might find so that's where you'll find that symbol popping up all the time.
Yeah, but the Eurasians really started. That's actually the section of the Bolshevik Party that came around after the fall of the Soviet Union. That's the section of the Bolshevik Party that was more Putin favoring, while the other side went the other direction.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Putin. So Alexander was a member. Was actually the first a talking member that was just very popular. Then the leader of the entire thing, and then the split happened, and they renamed themselves with the same charters, by the way, with the same beliefs, mostly, except they added in religion's okay, and we need to have strong family values, because Putin was celebrating that. Putin wasn't really a communist, but he had a lot of those traditional beliefs, but he also, liked the idea of authoritarianism to a certain degree, that you need rules. And so they started favoring Putin and said, we got to include some of what Putin likes. He likes strong family values. He likes the Christian belief. And so then half the Bolsheviks went in one direction, the other half went in the other, and one half became the Eurasian Party that Alexander Dugin is just really the brains behind. I don't think he's the leader anymore, but I know he's absolutely behind the scenes doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he's advocating for like greater, Slav supremacy or whatever, like this has some ringings of the 1940s, a little bit, but
everyone will be squatting. It'd be good.
I know everyone will have sweet sweatsuits.
Yeah, tracksuits just sitting everywhere, and the same hat you were wearing earlier in that video. Drinking a bottle of vodka.
I gotta admit, one of the things though that there's a guy, Caspian Report. He is on YouTube, relatively young guy, sounds relatively young, and he actually mapped out like a lot of the history, like Eurasian kind of states and their histories. He's, I think, from Turkmenistan possibly, but he got into like what the actual physical territory of Russia is like. And it hit me, America, when we think about it, it always blows people's minds. It was Molyneux who pointed this out. The contiguous states are only developed up to about 2%. Most of it's just still empty, total empty space. And, and it's just that resources, just getting water to someplace, Well, in Russia, imagine, because you could fit America in the core of the 48 contiguous states in like 4 times. This fucking
And
place
it's
is
mostly snow
huge.
and ice and like just empty shit.
Totally. You know, and so their whole thing is, if China could walk in and keep walking, and it would take years for anyone to notice. Like they're that damn big.
like you just start driving in Siberia and like, we can keep driving and no one's gonna pick us up. Sure, like, but you know,
yeah.
If I was in charge of Russia, I would be like, this is the best place in the world right now to have every kind of server and websites that wants to start up, to go into the Ural Mountains, to go into these other mountains. We can create cave homes, we can create scientific bases, and we can do all this. And we can, and the natural coolness and flatness of certain areas and the mountains of others will naturally cool off all in these climate controlled conditions. All the servers for long term, like how a lot of Nordic countries do that actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I.
Oh yeah. No, you know, Russia, that's a big part of what's going on, is Russia wants to become an industrial power. Everybody has understood the potential. You know, since the early 1900s, obviously people have understood the potential and have done everything they can to fund the clenching and juicing of Russia, and so now that the Russians they have to come up with an ideology. I kind of get it in Dugin, where Dugin's coming from. He has maybe it's their way of thinking too, but he could establish, or him and other people could establish, a way of thought that will make them strong. And
I mean, I guess that's also, I guess that's also partially why we have like NATO bases like completely surrounding Russia. Like if you look at a map of NATO bases, just like literally surround. Like we have one in like fucking Kazakhstan or some shit. Like one of these stands and shit. It's like, why do we have a base there? Oh, Russia's up there. Okay.
Yeah. They're all looking at Russia and be like, just wait.
yeah.
But I mean, isn't that part of the reason why like Kazakhstan is actually not as bad at looking as a place as people thought it was from Borat? Like, because a lot of American money went there with NATO, and there was a lot of build up from that, and a lot of modernization, I think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, having an American base definitely is going to bring in some, money.
Some dollars, some petrodollars.
And there's what's it called? That's the big uranium spot. Ooh. Remember the whole uranium one thing? It was like, remember the left? I love when they do it. I love when they walk into the trap. And so they're like, oh, uranium one's barely even a thing, because most of the uranium was really from Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has tons of uranium. And so I'm sitting there going, you did not just admit that Hillary Clinton worked some deal, and it ties in now another country that nobody's thinking about Kazakhstan, what's going on there. Now everyone has a reason to look into Kazakhstan and the Clinton Foundation. I'm like, good work, But
I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing when I literally got up for a second, and I couldn't stop laughing when you start doing your liberal accent, because I'm like, this is what happens when you grow up in San Francisco and you have to live next to these people all the time. And you're just like, oh, like
in my mind,
you live in San Francisco.
Voice. Oh yeah, grew up there. Yeah, grew up there.
Oh,
he was in Oregon. He lives in Oregon now, right?
Yeah.
So you're above the shithole.
I'm 100 miles south of Portland and Eugene. And it was totally like a very moderate country town that then the hippies invaded apparently in the 70s, and so it's got this weird like Scandinavians, Mennonites, and hippies, and then people who go to college here who just stay around because of course they thought like, oh, I'm going to go to college, earn my doctorate in English, and become motherfucking rich, and then they, and they stay. you know, and then life goes on, you know, and they have a normal life, you know, and Eugene's a nice place to have a nice, quiet, normal life in the suburbs.
Oh, that's nice. But I gotta say, no. But you were you told me on the last stream about I gotta get out of here. Arnold's gonna take the mantle as governor. It's constant. There's earthquakes everywhere. The water tastes like shit. I gotta get the fuck out of here before the governor comes in with all that Kennedy money, all that booze running mafia money, and just makes it terrible. By the way, I love what Broken Heart Liberal just told me. I didn't even know about Chechnya. I had no idea I didn't know much about Chechnya, but I just thought that was hilarious. He said there are no gays in Chechnya.
Yeah, I know.
And he's
yeah, go ahead.
Gays? What are gays? Oh, right, those things. We got rid of them.
Well, no, isn't he always in a military uniform?
I think so.
The president, yeah. He's like always in like.
That's
he's not like ready for a Sistema video all the time. You know, he's ready for like a Russian martial art. You know, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, so he just looks at people and just be like, "No, this is just what I wear. I'm ready at any time."
I mean, I guess it maybe wards off assassination attempts a little bit. I don't fucking
there
know.
You go.
Yeah. But you know, I probably saw America, and he saw all these gay pride parades, or people are like giving dildos to children. He's like, "No, yes."
Well, that's definitely.
You guys saw the what is it? The San Paulo, I think, whatever gay parade. There was that dancing kid.
Desmond is amazing. Desmond is amazing. Is the name they give him.
Wait, what?
Desmond is the name of the kid, I think.
Oh, okay. Donovan, I don't know if you've seen it, but basically it's this kid who's like 8, and he's in nothing but short shorts, and he's dancing literally surrounded by nothing but adults. And it's just like
adult gay men twerking.
Well, I think there was a couple of women in there too, but he was twerking as 8 years old and literally just short shorts, nothing else.
At a gay pride parade.
Surrounded by adults, like no one. It's not like a bunch of cheerleaders or something like that, and they're doing it for other kids. No, it's a bunch of adults, and he's surrounded by them. And it's just like,
yeah.
And that is why there are
no.
And that is why there are no.
I mean, the other thing also is like V did a video a while back, and it was like, this is what gay pride parades used to be, and it's like literally the most normal, boring looking people saying we're people too. That's literally what it used to be.
Trad gay people.
Oh my god, totally. And you want to actually, and straight up, I gotta admit, if you grow up in that area, you will encounter these, or well, back in the day, you encountered them. They were like the log cabin Republican types, and you didn't believe they existed. And you were like, wait, this guy's like, I swear to God, he said he's going to vote for, whoever the Republican, he's going to vote for Dole, and you'd be like, why would he vote for Dole? He's gay. And it's like, well, he's rich. And it's money, and that's, he wants to keep it, and my dad really was like, well, he has a lot of money and he wants to keep it. See, that's the thing, son, about Republicans. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, Dad, and that was that,
And that's why,
the other thing is like, okay, so like, I'm just thinking is like, if you're that rich and you want to keep all that money, it's like, okay, he just buys like a big apartment and moves his, they can't get married, but he just moves the person in, fuck it. Like, he's got, fat stacks, who cares?
And that actually was that generation, that there would just be these people who owned the best apartments, and they would own the apartment. Like, it was at some point they had bought the fucker, and I still remember.
What is the difference with owning it and renting it? Don't you have to still pay a fee every month?
You mean with like condominiums?
I think that's what it was. That was a part of the trend, that the Castro area went heavily condominium at some point, and that's what they would just pay a fee for the maintenance of the building as a part of a condominium, whatever the group is called.
Yeah, I mean, with condominiums, you do have to, like, there are certain group if they have a pool or whatever and stuff like that. But the point is with condominiums, you own the thing. Like they can't evict you and stuff like that, basically.
Oh, I mean, they can stop giving you service though.
I mean, I guess it would depend on the contract, but I mean, because an apartment, like you don't own it, like somebody else, like the one person owns like the entire complex or whatever, and he can evict your ass. Whereas a condominium, you own that room or rooms or whatever. They can't evict you. So that's the difference, basically.
Yeah. We should probably get back to Dugin, but I wanted to show you. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna screen share. Screen share. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Let's get to this. And can you see this? You see what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The face of doom.
I'm on my phone, so I'm not getting a lot of images and stuff. But
Duginism is to the right what cultural Marxism is to the left, only a lot worse. A lot worse because we've come to witness also the rise of the Duginist left lately, such as the Coalition of the Radical Left, or Syriza in Greece. Sadly, the establishmentarian right and the establishmentarian left have done very, very little to combat Duginism, partly because they don't know what it is, and partly because they're just too hysterical and thus incapable of understanding what they're really up against. So, in this episode, we will try our best to understand what Duginism is, how it works in practice, and why it matters.
By the way, every time he says Duginism, I always think of like a dog, like a cute little puppy. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Let's explore.
So let's skip past this.
And welcome to another installment of Freedom Alternative Research and Analysis. Well, this is probably the most complicated video so far because the whole thing is just too complex and fringe-worthy, but fringe-worthy in particular. Sadly, Duginism is less and less fringe, not because Duginism is correct or a fair alternative to the failures of liberalism, but because Duginism is vague enough to attract disgruntled totalitarians of every stripe. Add to that the never-ending chain of stupidity of mainstream politicians like François Hollande, Angela Merkel, Federica Mogherini, Stefan Löfven, and others like that, and it's getting increasingly easier to see why Duginism is taking roots once you understand what Duginism is, especially once you also take into account the inherent anti-Americanism that is widely practiced in all too many intellectual circles in Europe. The beauty of Duginism and its inherently cambiant nature, and I mean it when I say the beauty, is whilst I utterly loathe Duginism and I loathe the fact that it even has any type of influence, I do have to admire the simple yet highly efficient agitprop conducted by its followers. Anyway, we'll get into the minutiae of things in the following minutes or maybe the following hour, because this video might actually get very long. So, first things first, let's deal with the name. Now, Duginism, the name is more or less informal and comes from leaning publications. For instance, the same publication can publish entirely different positions on the exact same story depending on the language of reporting.
Oh, yeah, that's
funny. It also explains quite a lot on why he has so many useful idiots for his ideological views. In short, what he says in English is not what he says in Russian, and same goes with Duginist-leaning publications. For instance, the same publication can publish entirely different positions on the exact same story depending on the language of reporting. And it works, because most people don't speak more than one or two languages, and the research for such things is costly. Anyway, the focus In understanding this ideology, which Dugin himself refuses to call Duginism, but rather prefers terms like Eurasianism or continentalism. So the key works in understanding Duginism or Eurasianism or continentalism, whatever, are these two books. Основы геополитики, геополитическое будущее России, or The Foundations of Geopolitics, the Geopolitical Future of Russia, and Четвертая политическая теория, or The Fourth Political Theory.
Sounds simple enough to pronounce.
I know, right?
Oh, it's such a beautiful language. Like I don't know. Personally, if I had a Russian girlfriend, I'd want her to always talk dirty to him.
Totally, dude.
In this language, just because I don't know what you're planning. I don't know if you're planning, like finishing, or you want to finish off the United States. But this is awesome. Like whenever we're doing it, you know, this is the language you speak. Do you understand me? All right.
If there was ever a way I was going to get caught up into some like scheme and plot and get thrown in a hole forever, her name would be Natasha. She would be from like Nizhny Novgorod and have red hair, you know, and I would, I'll do anything, Natasha. You know, yeah.
So Black Widow then?
Oh, there we boom. Nailed it.
The only other language, like everyone says, like, oh, what about Spanish? First off, I was born in Colombia in 1996, and so even though I had to learn Spanish because I was raised in America most of my life, whenever I was around Latin people, they would always have these sick as fuck accents. Whenever they would speak Spanish, I'd be like, oh my gosh, shut the fuck up! Like I'm so used to it. The only two languages I want to be talked dirty to, and Alice and Pete, if you're listening right now, you know, Rage After Storm, is German and Russian, because one of them just sounds English enough where I can kind of make out what it's saying, so it's kind of mysterious. And the other one is just like, fuck you. Just, I'm going to insult you in every word I know, but you'll think it's dirty talk.
I know, totally. Yes.
You won't know what I'm saying, but I'm calling you a disgusting person who I'm going through divorce. But for now, you think it's sexy. So, as a Catholic, I think I'm going to hell. But doesn't matter. Let's do this.
Just purgatory.
No,
right?
it's exactly. You see, just the outer red ridge there. You know, just you just the waiting space there.
The what?
The waiting space. Was it a limbo? Limbo is that's the space where all the prophets were there until Jesus got there. Is the way when they designed hell, the Catholics started designing like this is what hell was kind of like. You know, that's what limbo ended being referred to as the edge, and everything else is the pit. And so there's this garden on the edge that all the prophets were sleeping in. And so Jesus goes down there and wakes them up. And they're like, because they had to discuss, did Jesus go to hell, or did he go to various parts of hell? And so limbo, that's where that ends up. That's where that Catholic argument ends up deciding on. He was in limbo. Yeah.
Oh, so you basically went to hell for celebrities.
It's and for people who just kind of didn't get it, you know, like they're there and they're like, oh, you know, all the babies, you know, they're like, what am I doing here? You know, and it's like, and what? You know, and somebody comes down and picks you up. You know, the pit is when you knew what you were doing.
so like mentally handicapped people, stuff like that.
Yeah, they're sitting in limbo. They're like, "What am I doing here?" You know.
Like, oh, don't worry. You're just in the airport lounge. We're gonna pick you up. Don't worry. You'll be coming and seeing the Father soon. You're not going to hell. You're just on a delayed flight.
Well, Arshian, you said you were autistic, right? So you can like play that card.
Okay, listen, God, I fucked a lot of bitches because I'm awesome like that. But I'm telling you, I got autism. Okay, I believe there's affirmative action in heaven. He's like, oh, fine, goddamn. Sorry, progressives. There we go. Progressives. Goddamn progressive. Now I got to let this retard in. Before we even continue this video, I got to say one thing. I hate Christian music the way it currently is. I don't hate underground Christian music. I hate like the normal Christian music nowadays because it's all just like it's basically it's a husk of a husk because it used to be creative and like and really bold when it first came out on the scene, and now like they're not just as bad and as unoriginal as pop music. Most of their songs are unoriginal copy-offs of unoriginal pop music. So if I was God and I was looking down, I'd be like there's a song where literally, I kid you not, 63 times they say "we receive." Oh, every time. My God. Okay, first off, I'm a Christian, so to me that's kind of insulting. That you look at this almighty creature that is the father of every father of yours, and yet you put so little creativity in there. If I was God, I'd be like, "We received, bitch! No, the fuck you didn't. Get your ass back in that church and try again." I'm giving you an F. This is an F. You understand me? Open that book again and put pens and paper and get a little more goddamn original, or I'll flunk your ass and put you back in hell. I'm your father's father. I made you possible. Show some damn respect. Like that would be what I would say. You know what I mean?
I have no idea that scene of music. It's like every once in a while there'll be say somebody who's a contemporary soul artist that has a gospel or gospel end song, like Sharon Jones or Charles Bradley. They would do like a gospel end song on one of their soul albums, but that's about the only thing I know. And every once in a while somebody will do a YouTube video and it will have Christian music and they'll be like, "Hey, check this out," and I won't even know what I'm seeing. I have no, like, I'm suddenly like, is this from another universe? What is this? And you're right, like the "we receive," like strange, like where I'm like, what? I don't understand who are these people at this concert? Like, yeah. But and then I sit back and I'm like, hey, they're there every Sunday. I can't. Like I'm doing my laundry on Sunday. They're in the pew or whatever, so I can't take away from But yes, I get it. I understand you. I understand you on that.
It looks like a bunch of people. It looks like what Jonestown would be. There's a bunch of people listening to the chanting, and they're all like, swaying their bodies left and right because they're in hypnotic states. Right after
in tongues
from the Kool-Aid, It's sad because have you ever heard of Skillet?
Yeah, no. I think a little bit. Yeah,
they're Christian rock, and they make songs that honestly sound like 3 Days Grace, like real hard rock. And the thing is, I like them because they are very serious about their arts. They're very serious about bringing Christianity back to respect. And one of their songs, I think it's called "Whispers in the Dark." It's one of their most famous ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I'll play like a little bit of it later, not now. But it really is a song about literally feeling like you're being possessed by an evil spirit, and about how to fight it off. And their other songs are about people they've known in their life who have dealt with drugs. Like they talk about some really dark stuff. Like I think like one song they actually inspired me to write was actually there's one song I think they inspired Breaking Benjamin to write. They inspired them, I think, to write "Anthem of the Angels," which was about I think someone knowing that their loved one is going to die of cancer. And it's not one of those, You're gonna die of cancer, but you'll overcome it. You know, yeah. You know, it was like one of those really sad songs that was about how to comfort someone in their last waking moments. Like, so they're a lot better. They're a lot more serious. They actually put effort in. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you mean. In like a lot of when I like reading a lot of stuff from Orthodoxy, because the Orthodox really do accept, like, oh no, humans are this is it. This is what you're seeing. This is the best the world has to offer right now, and you're gonna die, and it's gonna suck. So you have very little time to do the right thing while you have the chance. And so it's this very, like, to the bone kind of approach that doesn't have quite the sunniness of, say, British Protestantism, where that's a bit more, you know, there's the British Protestants, especially in America, they do a lot more of the sunny writing that we get in American Christianity. And I get why. Because we had bounty and plenty, and it's the idea of, oh, look at how we've been blessed. But it's this, we've lost that kind of that Scots American, you know, stuff that, you know, just of songs of woe, that, you know, and please God help me because everything is so hard, you know, like kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's always bad to have those kind of songs. I think that it's just that when you have nothing but the old, like, Protestants, like gospel, like Lord, 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 oh Lord, you're like, do you guys know that there was such things as I don't know, some dude having 2 pieces of wood slammed into his hands and then he had to die that way? Did you guys hear about that? It's kind of in your book. It's a very important chapter. You might want to check it out. His name started with a J. You know, not everything's all sunny all the time. I'm sure, like, if he wasn't the son of God, he probably wouldn't be like, I give up! Help! He got stabbed. He had to wear this, basically this thorny crown. Thorny crown. It was basically a torture hat. To stay, and then as he starved to death, like, they fed him with a sponge, and he's like, oh, done. Come on, there is such thing as pain. You got it. You can't just you can't just be like, Lord, Lord, Lord all the time.
Well, and I think actually it's kind of important that you're touching on this idea of that a past era of time, especially on the right, where I got to see, like, the mega churches. Like, when I was a little kid, I kept watching the Bakers. They were on before the cartoons. So I'd wake up before the cartoons. There's Tammy Faye Baker and Jim Baker, and with the big old hair and the suits and these giant churches. And I don't think I grasped anything at all. But that era of time, the frenetic energy that they would build up, the crying, the sweating, then the music, and all this multimedia, you know, giant speakers, and how huge everything became, from small, tiny little family, you know, chapels that in like places like, you know, France and Greece, it became then this thing that would fill a mall. And I really think that you are talking about something that is your generation's understanding of the whole mood of this is wrong. Everything feels so wrong about how we're remembering remember me, you know, like, do this to remember me, you know. And it's like, why are we doing this in a mall, you know? It's good. I think it's really, yeah, I like it. I like that the want of tradition, the desire for something that's real, authentic, and has to be kind of smaller, you know, something closer and more familiar, is that you all are insisting on it. You're not going to have anything less in your generation. Yeah.
Well, you know, that's kind of why there's a church I go to. I'm not going to say the name of the church, But it has a modern church for like the normal Sundays because they have all these people. But right next to it are for like the regular believers that have not just come to the church just to say hi, how you doing? But these are like the ones that went through their catechism. Even as adults, you have to like you're not welcome in this church unless you are part of the group, especially if you're a Knight of Columbus like me. I'm a second-degree Knight of Columbus. And by the way, I sent a letter to the Masons. I said, I'm done. I don't want to be part of your cult. Yeah. I still want to study them, but I've been talking to like a lot of ex-Masons. And they've been telling me, yeah, do this. And they'll tell you anything you want because this is a higher ranking Masonic symbol. You know what I mean? Like, I realized they were pretty anti-Christian, or they have a more Luciferian like rebellion against authority kind of idea. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. My church, the church I go to now more regularly, is out in the country, and like right next to the larger church, you know, they own both buildings. There's an old style European like cathedral. It's smaller, but it's like it's got that pointy German tip at the front. So it's like it's made of brick. It's got stained glass. It's one of those old timey Catholic. There's places where you can kneel. You know, it's really beautiful on the inside. Some of the wood, some of the floors need to be replaced because of how old it is. And they said this church has literally been around since Wisconsin was established. I'm like, what? And I literally felt like I was sitting inside of a living museum, like I felt like I was living inside of. I felt like I was inside of a living piece of a human history, at least my state's history. That's also, and I say living because it's still being used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, Hart, how you doing over there? You're probably just like, what the fuck's going on?
Well, I was just kind of listening. That's all. But
yeah.
Oh, but hey, we still got this. We got more of the Russian guy here.
Yeah, he's either that or Chechen or something. By the way, I don't like gays either. Let's talk about Dugin now.
Now, the Facebook is Dugin's argument as to why Russia has the right to invade and dominate most of Europe. And then after he's done explaining that, he proceeds to basically expand on Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky and lay out a very detailed plan on how to achieve Russian dominance. Now, mind you, the logic is not to have Russia everywhere, but rather to have as many countries as possible play by the music of Russia. The maximum...
Okay.
Play the music of Russia. You guys just you have to get in on the squatting. Yeah, I tell you.
He basically wants.
I tell you, Slovenia. You must get on the squatting. It is amazing. Go ahead.
I mean, he essentially wants like what the United States has. He wants like the world hegemony to be Russian, essentially.
Yeah, I think it's more like the neocon American view, but from a Slavic point of view. Yeah, it sounds more like he kind of wants to force everything to be Russian and also be a puppet state. Like they give all the resources to. They have their little local governments, but in reality, their national government is controlled by the Kremlin. You know what I mean?
I mean, well, now, this if the Russians want to, or just real quick, if the Russians want to do that, they got to develop their culture, man. Because our culture, American culture, spreads very well. People like American culture. Go ahead.
Well, I would say that what he actually can do is just simply undermine.
Hey guys, I'll be right back. You guys keep doing your thing, okay? I'll be right back.
All right.
Because that's a big part of what Russia and especially Putin and the KGB specialized in was usurping other cultures and choosing.
About there was that old Russian defector or whatever, right?
Yeah, like that one guy that I was reading, Pasepa. He wrote about this as disinformation, where what you do is say it's how you tell the story of what happened at Charlottesville has a very different effect on thousands of readers. Well, what they would do is they would make sure they had people who were KGB friendly. well funded. You know, like in
Mhm.
some way, shape, or form, like they would get them hired at the Nation. They would get they would make sure, like, if they had some connect at a certain newspaper, or they had a connect in a big one. What was it that he was talking about? He was, because it was really kind of interesting the way that he talked about how the KGB would distribute assets. Various political people, as they would work their way up through politics, their political group would be basically funded very strategically by the KGB. And
Mhm.
so if, say, somebody like Bernie Sanders, he most likely at some stage got help, whether he knew it or not, by the KGB. Suddenly, when he's interviewing with Tom Hartman, who ends up with a show on Russia Today, and that Tom Hartman and Bernie Sanders have a weekly interview, and nobody knows who Bernie Sanders is until the crowd from the radio moves over to Russia Today. Russia Today gets popular among young people in about 2011, 2012, 2013, and Bernie Sanders starts his rise. And it was a great strategy because he became a possible spoiler at the level of the seatbelt guy. Green, was it Green Party? Damn, I can't believe I'm forgetting that guy's name.
The shoot, with the SUVs and stuff like that, right? It's like
And he would like pull votes away, from some election, and everybody would blame him. He's why we have seatbelts in cars. That's the whole thing I keep thinking, is like he's the guy who did the lawsuit that did that. It's just not coming to me.
I know who you're talking about. Because again, it was like SUV, like flip overs and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. That was another one that he was on about, if I remember correctly. And
I mean,
but that's how Russia gets people, is that all they've got to do is insert just enough doubt in a story, and it might be true.
Though, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that, if they did stuff like that. Because I mean, again, there's like that defector who was talking about how they did stuff like that. But the thing is, like, you can undermine cultures, but if they don't have something to replace, like to supplant it or whatever, like offer a better alternative, then it's just kind of, they're just trying to undermine the powers against them, but that doesn't actually give them dominance, I guess. Does that make sense?
Church, it was a Baptist church.
Artyom? We here?
What is happening?
I don't know. It sounds like he's talking to somebody in the background.
Hold on. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know if I told you guys this, but a month ago I moved back in with my mom because I was living in an apartment with a dude I knew for 4 years in high school, and his girlfriend literally met him in a Baptist church, and he was inviting me there just because it was a general Christian non-denominatory event going on that they were just using that church for. It was actually run by another larger church, I think like a Unitarian church or something. But they were just using that church for the moment because their church had some water damage. Anyways, I was invited there and we were all dancing around. Anyway, so a month ago, I was like, why does he have this separate fridge of his? We have one big fridge and he takes food out of that too. And so I look in there because he had never locked it. And, he has all this food and stuff like that. And then there's just one bag of there's one box of like some, I saw a fish on top. I'm like, okay, that's probably a fish. But this is a little suspicious. So I decided, I'm like, what the hell? I'm a curious person. And, if he walks in, I'm like, hey, I'll just replace it. So I open it up and I see a bag of green leaves. I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, well, if he doesn't sell it here, this is just his storage area, maybe I can ignore it and I can just live here long enough to find a new roommate and say, hey, just take this risk somewhere else, and plus, weed, there's potentially going to be a vote here in Wisconsin to get rid of the weed ban altogether. And then I was like so hoping there'd be nothing else, but I felt something underneath the bag, and there's another bag, and it's got yellow liquid in it. and it says H.
Whoa.
And immediately the hair stood up on the back of my head. And I'm like, I call my mom, say, can I move in back within a day? And she's like, sure. And then my roommate sees me move out, and I'm just pretending I never saw that box. Because I'm thinking he's probably not alone. Like, because like I looked around the apartment, just like how many things that he touched with those hands that I own, that the police could be like, they found residue on this. And I found like 4 other boxes, and well, sorry, 3 other boxes, and one and one entire cooler under the floorboard. Which
wow!
Damn, son.
So I wait. What did you say, Donovan?
Oh, I'm just like, wow! That holy crap, dude!
And dude, and by the way, in the cooler, it was organized like some kind of horror show, and like it went from white crystals on the right. And then in the middle right, there was pieces to a clearly illegal full auto, and then on the left there was some kind of like imported booze and with cheese underneath it, and then the last part. I swear to God, this just made me be like, I'm so glad I don't know this guy anymore. I deleted his number and changed my phone number. I kid you not, there was you're just gonna be like, what the fuck when you hear this, by the way. There was literally some kind of red substance. It didn't look like blood. It almost looks like Kool-Aid. That was all stacked on top of each other with bags, and there was these little black pieces in it, and so I don't even know what that is to this day. But like what I got out of there a month, like 2 weeks later, I'm in my mom's house, and I told her, just tell her nobody I'm here, just no matter what. And I'm watching the news. It was like on Fox 6, and they're saying like, local resident of blah 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 arrested today for like 40 kilos of heroin. Only 20 of which was found in the apartments. 70 kilos of and they literally, well, they were saying kilos because apparently this was all important. Like, it wasn't just weed, it was hash.
That's what I thought. Yeah, you were describing some of it. I'm like, that sounds like hash, one of the things you said. Yeah. Yeah,
and then and then apparently the red substance was an experimental new drug that's been tried out in Milwaukee.
Oh, like, no.
So designer drugs.
Yes, a designer party drug. I think that they called it like lightning or something, because it was it was like if you drank meth, but you drank it slowly, and it gave you a slow, continuous charge throughout the night. And apparently, a lot of construction workers were using it by like mixing it in with their drinks and keeping them awake long hours of the night, and it would slowly pee it out. You know what I mean?
Hold on. Oh, we got it. We got a cyberpunk alert. Cyberpunk alert. We have reached another level of full cyberpunk. Our Talsorian Games Cyberpunk. We now have Smash. Smash the Drink now exists, apparently, and your housemate had it.
Yeah.
Because there's this stuff in Cyberpunk that you can drink that's some devastatingly horrible, like, alcohol drug thing, you know. It's like, get this in Fallout 4 sometimes too, like this stuff that you could just drink and you're like, blah! And you could just start killing everyone.
And, you know, that's literally like they said it had something to do with like you know, like they isolate ingredients that are used to make rat poison, specific ones. They isolate them, and these are the non-deadly ones that mess with your heart rate to smooth out. It's like to open up your blood vessels. They open up your blood vessels, and then they also put some other kind of like that black stuff is apparently energy part of it. So it was like it was like a caffeine something other mix, like, you know, some kind of caffeine like mutation to be like, you know, like drugs. And I don't remember the whole thing like this. And I realized, by the way, this was when I decided to say, fuck Milwaukee. I am never going back. Because it's like tax on tires. Every tire that is on an active moving vehicle, it counts for about 10% tax to your income. So,
wow.
So this shit, I'm out. And when I was living in another town, I will not disclose the name of the town, by the way, and living with this roommate, then 2 weeks later, I'm like, there is a God. He warned me ahead of time to get the fuck out. So it was like, and I swear to God, I thought that if I stay there, my only other option would be to join the group that he works for, because he has to have worked for the group. They said, no known affiliates at the moment, but police believe this might be low-key mafia type work. I'm like, the only way I was gonna get out of that if I didn't get discovered when I was still living there with him is if I joined whatever group and I was like the new John Wick or something.
Oh man, that's awful.
Oh, I literally opened a cooler with guns and cheese, and
I like the cheese. That's great. It's got, you know, a little bit of wine and cheese in there, you know, and I'm polishing up my
food,
gun,
man.
You know? I mean, like, actually, in fact, there's you probably only you can imagine how odd or surreal something like this would be. You know, knowing this person, you know, that at some point was it that they're stacking that like they turn on some kind of like Italian music or something and start going through the kilos with like the gun out and the wine and cheese, you know, like this is like some ritual, you know, like no, you know, and it's like, and he's like, oh yeah, okay, that's 3 kilos of, you know, of smash, you know, and then, you know, and like, you know, cleaning the barrel, you know, and you know, you know, I mean, because then it's kind of, you know, then it's very classy in a way. It's very picturesque, you know.
Well, you know, I think what it was is he always said like he said like the name, like the little words I read on the cooler were the words "get out."
Wait, what did he say he did? That is a question.
By the way, I hear feedback.
I don't think it's on my end.
I have headphones.
My side is muted. Yeah. Well, he said. Well, he works part-time.
Yeah, it's definitely not me. I muted myself.
Here, let me.
Donovan?
Okay, now I'll hit the mute button. Here we go.
Okay, can you hear me? Oh no, it's still there. Shit. Oh wait, now I don't hear it anymore. I don't hear it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm on headphones, so there's no way there should be feedback from my end.
Yeah. Now it's gone. Donovan, you back?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
All right. Oh god damn it!
Arceon, is it maybe yours?
I don't know. I thought I muted my own stream. Well, let me just exit out of this stream altogether. Okay. Oh, I can't hear any feedback. Oh, we're good. We're good. It was just my stream. Apparently, the mute button wasn't working right. So, yeah, but I don't know why. But the thing is, like, yeah. So he works part time at a gas station, but he said like he made a good amount of money, like $15 an hour. Like I visited him at the gas station. He does, and he did work there. So I figured, you know, what the hell, you know, he probably whatever, you know. But the thing is I just don't know. But literally, the words on the cooler after I found all 3 other boxes, so 4 in total. One, and like the first one was just complete discovery in the fridge. Though it said "get out," and I'm thinking this is a sign from God, and then I realized gun, food, booze, and 2 types of drugs. This is probably his to-go cooler if he ever cops on him.
Oh my God, totally.
So he survives on the cheese and the booze for a little bit, and it looks like some kind of like imported booze, like some kind of like stuff that you couldn't get in America. And by the way,
oh no, he's a foreigner.
And by the way,
he probably because it's if you got to leave town, well, you're gonna need a drink, and if you're gonna have a drink, and it might be the last drink you ever fucking better be a good fucking drink. I get it. This makes perfect sense to me. I'm like, no. And like, honestly, gas station, you never saw him there.
I saw him. No. He was. No. He had like legit, but he works like I think like 6 hours a day for about 5 days a week, and so I think that's where he got his legit income. I think he gave 100% of his income to the apartments. So this way, everything else he wanted was drugs. Everything that you didn't need a credit card for. Yeah,
it's just what I'm saying is that at this point of the story, Jeff might want to go back to Dugin. Just there's just enough information here. Well, I'll tell you off air why I'm saying this later. It's just let's just go back to some Alexander Dugin.
Are you saying that like you think I'm gonna be like picked up by the cops or something?
No. It's just there's something interesting, but it's a little. It just takes a little dox. It sort of has to do with doxing in a way, like it makes sense. Something about his job makes a little more sense than you might think.
Ooh,
I'll just tell you later. I'll tell you later.
We're going back to Dugin right now.
Of all of Europe, Dugin states in Osnowy Geopolitiki. Now, Finlandization is basically the term by which a larger neighboring country de facto dominates the foreign affairs of a smaller country, whilst that country maintains some sort of independence and a national political system. Now, the term originates, as the name suggests, with the politics of Finland, is particularly the politics of Finland after World War II, when the Soviet Union did not annex the entirety of Finland, but nevertheless got to keep Finland in a state of limbo, neither in the Western Bloc nor in the Eastern Bloc, and generally defenseless and at the mercy and the whims of the Soviet Union. Now,
I mean, we also kind of let them too, because there's a whole severe spheres of influence deal and stuff like that. So
you think we should let them?
No, we did. Like after World War II, there was here's our sphere of influence, here's your sphere of influence, and we just kind of but also there's like set up governments in all the other countries but Finland, but Russia's kind of like, by the way, fuck America. Like they definitely still like influenced them, but without like giving them anything in return. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Written all the way back in 1997, lays out a very detailed plan of Russian subversion to be developed not just in Europe, but also in the United States, China, the Caucasus area, Japan, and so on and so forth. And some of the objectives of Duginist subversion have already been achieved, or may indeed be achieved, sooner than many would dare to think. Let me read a few passages from page 367 from the Foundations of Geopolitics by Alexander Dugin. Quote, all levels of geopolitical pressure must be activated simultaneously. It is especially important to introduce geopolitical disorder into internal American activity, encouraging all kinds of separatism and ethnic, social, and racial conflicts, actively supporting all dissident movements, extremist, racist, and sectarian groups, thus destabilizing internal political process in the United States. it would also make sense simultaneously to support isolationist tendencies in American politics.
Now let's just try to chew on that without choking. What do you hear? What I just heard?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Dugin, you've been a naughty little boy.
Tensions, isolationism. I mean, that's kind of what we're getting. I mean, granted, like, in regards to isolation, is like, we don't really want to have another Iraq. Like, I mean, we shouldn't be completely isolationist, but like, we don't have to invade all of these fucking countries either.
Yeah, but okay. I mean, it sounds like he just wants America to start infighting, so then Russia can be like, by the way, we'll let you die off, and we take over Europe. If you do anything, we kill you. You know, it just sounds like they want like it sounds like Dugin would be in favor of keeping up every nuke.
Keeping every what?
I thought.
What's up?
Keeping every what?
Keeping every nuke.
No, I mean, I don't think nukes play into that as much. I mean, these are like subversion and other weird stuff.
I'm saying I think they would definitely keep every nuke in their own country while we infight, and then they would say, by the way, we have more nukes than you because now you've infought so much, your infrastructure has died, your people have killed each other, and you know, like I think they want America to go into a civil war so they can just take over Europe.
Yes,
wow, I
mean, that actually
a
is
war
very
would be really good for Russia. That definitely would, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. So, that's definitely one of the things that because he he points to liberalism must die. So because of I did watch like how he actually did a whole series of videos on and he did a series of videos on like the different debates and stuff like that. Like it was only like maybe 3, but definitely obviously like Trump.
Keep going.
It was and I actually thought that's where I get actually the joke Trump, because that's the way he says it. He has this weird way of extending the sound. And so the nationalist thing is simply something that existed that Dugin and you know, and Americans also knew it was there, and he just knew how to tap into that desire that I think was already in the body politic, and it just suits him. It just works very well for him. But it was also it won't work well for them for really about another 40 years, 30 or 40 years is the payout.
I assume what, just to clarify, I assume when he's talking about liberalism, he means like the classical sense of like left and right sort of liberalism. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And that's his whole approach, is that this and in a way this kind of matches up with like what Hayek noticed about Germany in the 30s and 40s, where they looked at the British way of life of free exchange, and then Americans being even more into free exchange as fundamentally degenerate. And there should be an orderly, planned economy and that kind of mentality. And for him, he has whatever he's kind of saying is like the Russian approach to this, and this is what's wrong with America, making it and you know, degenerate is, you know, to some extent, you know, is one of the things that Trump is bringing back, something that is truly only American and is doing away with the degeneracy. And it's coupled, of course, luckily, with nationalism.
Right, that's right. Sorry, guys. It's just that it's on Brittany Pettibone's channel. That's right. All right, keep going. But you know, I had to say, I think that's because when you have that level of a difference when it comes to collectivism, it really will end up making even something as plain as that like that. Oh, here's what I wanted to show you. This is how I literally started saying that Lauren and Brittany are just Russian talking heads, because it just feels like that at this point. At this point, it feels like they are just nothing but puppets, because Listen to how they talk about this. Watch. Just listen. Watch. Pass all that. Blah 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 blah.
See. So we've just finished interviewing Alexander Dugin. This has been the longest day of the shoot of the entire production, as you can see. We were walking for like 4 hours. We had a 2-hour conversation in front of hot lights, and there's nowhere I'd rather be than having a 2-hour conversation with Alexander Dugin, but I'm so exhausted. Yeah. We're so exhausted, but we just wanted to share our thoughts about meeting.
Just listen to just how quickly they get down on their knees for this dude.
Dugin, because it was such a fascinating experience. Yeah. Really.
The dude who doesn't understand what an AI is fascinating. Like he's sort of saying,
so they really like this guy.
The millennial.
Or they sounds like they like this guy quite a bit.
Oh my God! I want to straight up tell Dugin, dude, there is no AI in this century. More than likely, the quickest you'll get it is 60 years. You are not an engineer. You're not a scientist. You don't even know what an AI is. Every time he talked about, like, the sex robots being able to talk to you, I'm like, no, that's not an AI.
Wait.
Close to that. There is no.
Hold the fucking phone. Hold on. He's complaining about fucking sex bots, like literally.
Well, he's saying that the technology that gives the ability to have conversations will make nihilism more real. I'm like,
yes.
No, that's not an AI. There's nothing close to an AI. I can get my engineering friend right here. He has a degree in software engineering. He knows SOAP. He knows HTML. He knows every single program there is, and he would laugh in your face if you try to pass that off as an AI.
I love how, like, when people were like, oh my gosh, this AI was on Twitter and everyone made it a Nazi. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, that, like, I'm just sitting back, like, thinking after the laughter and after, like a year since it's, that existed or whatever, that in my mind, what I'm seeing is a stream with, like, Weave and his homies, like, pulling a raid, like, with 7 different accounts on Twitter, just running joke after joke past this thing, just like minute by minute, as fast as they can, until finally the only input it had was trolling from, like, Weave and his buddies, and like, and that's in my mind, that's what I'm seeing. And I'm like, how don't people understand how that happened? Oh, they think this was a real, like, C-3PO.
Well, they think not even in the basic form is it self-aware. Not even in the most basic form it can even choose for itself. It's literally just an algorithm. That's the. It's not an AI. What's up?
For me, I don't think it was Weave and any of these people. It's just a bunch of fucking teenagers who want to get fame. It's like they're a part of something. They got on the news. They did something that got on the fucking news.
It's like jerking off to girls we'll never meet in real life.
It's literally, it's like, I think it was like in South America or something like that, or somewhere. Anyways, they're putting, like, trying to shame kids with their Facebook posts. Like, they're putting Facebook posts of, like, kids or whatever, trying to shame them. It's just like, how fucking happy a teenager's like, I got on this billboard. People saw me.
Oh, I'm famous now because I said gas the Jews to a fake AI.
Yeah, so it's,
oh man,
just listen to this.
That's who turned it Nazi. It's because it's a bunch of kids who want attention. It's just that's all.
So anyway, guys, listen to this. Just listen to this. This is
okay.
By the way, on the right, if you're wondering why that's an ad, because I actually bought his stuff. I actually sold all my video games, including my PS2. So I could learn his system on singing. So that guy right there, Ken Taplin. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
We have maybe 8 questions, and it went on for about an hour and a half.
He's very gracious, you could say.
Well, even the whole time, despite that, usually when people give really long answers to your questions,
You zone out.
You get bored, but I was enthralled.
Jesus fuck.
He made, even if you hate Dugin, you disagree with everything he says, which I don't think everything he says is. I have a lot of questions about the things he says, but the way he says them, it just opens so many new doors in your mind that you're like, wow, I never considered that. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, definitely. What were some of the most interesting responses he gave, like to your questions? What question were you so happy you asked him because you just love the response? We won't give away his response because actually all of the interviews are going to be on Lauren's channel. We're just talking, chatting about it.
We can talk about it, absolutely. I really found his conversation about individualism, the individualism of liberalism, which we worship so much in Western society, versus collectivism, which is more praised in Eastern societies, like really strong family unit, really strong collective identity, really strong duty to your...
Which I will say was around in America since the founding and only recently started going away. But go on, Lauren.
Your nation and your culture. Him comparing those and the failures of individualism is something that you really don't hear much in the Atlanticist Western world, because both conservatives and liberals are individualism supporters in America and Canada. So we don't really get to hear these arguments against individualism too much, because both of our sides, liberals are like, be whatever gender you want, your individual identity is super important, and conservatives are like, individualism, you are your own person, everything based on merit, you make your own wealth.
I'm just going to say this, I know I keep pausing, but when you really think about it, the left doesn't want individualism. When she says, like, you're your own unicorn, I think we both know what the left has really...
Well, the progressives have been...
What's up?
The way the progressives did, essentially, the way I look at it is like, because basically you look at progressive, like, talking points and their stuff. They took what the religious right had and said, let's implement this. That's essentially what they did, because it's just flipped. They just flipped it on its head, and they turned it to collectivism. And it's just, it's mind-boggling. But anyways,
I think what it is that you see, they know that if you get rid of the idea that the individual exists with or without a group, and that it prefers a group, but it still is a person with or without a group, then people will just ignore you. But you see, they want to get rid of identities that are important, like, families, religion, stuff like that. But they realize we have to replace it. If we don't, just like the black community, they'll become violent and they'll resist, gang violence and stuff. Versus like if we make like a soy boy. So what do they do with the soy boys? They say your identity is Xbox or it's PlayStation. It's something that doesn't mean anything. So I think that's what it really is. But like Lauren's, I don't think she. Yeah.
Well, there's a way I like.
I don't know. It's like she likes his arguments against individualism, and it's just like group. The problem with this sort of collectivism is if you go outside the collective, they have to kill you.
Yeah.
That's the way it works, is because in order to protect the collective, you need to kill everybody who isn't part of it.
Yeah. You can make it a collective exclusive and voluntary, but I mean, this idea that Dugin has is just, it really is the Communist Manifesto, just rebranded. By the way, for those who don't know this, Karl Marx was actually very much linked with the Rothschilds family, so is it any surprise that globalists parrot a lot of his talking points?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's true, man. You look it up, but like he and the Rothschilds were very much connected. That's why Foucault called him out and said, look, I like a lot of what you said, but why the hell would there be central banking if it's a moneyless, classless, stateless society?
Oh, that is true. I mean, he did call for centralized banking.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that about his. There's a lot about his kind of specifics on economics that I got to admit. I'm like, no, I don't really know his stance on on that, and so that's interesting. I didn't know he was into central banking.
Because I literally just read it like in his I was looking up one of his quotes or whatever, and it said like he wanted central banking and stuff like that. So and by the way, anybody who's listening, the Rothschild, we're not talking about Jews, we're talking about the Rothschilds. Okay, chill the fuck out.
Just gotta put that out there. I think that the Jews get a bad rap because Jews are more powerful financially. So if there's a Jew who does something bad, you know, like in politics, they'll affect a lot more people versus someone who's not Jewish. Same with someone who's right wing and Jewish, or left wing and liberal versus progressive. If they're like, you know, for freedom of, you know, letting you be who you are, or if they're a good person, you know, a Jewish person will probably make more of a difference. Like I think Ayn Rand was that. I think Mises was like, you know, that as well. They were both Jews, and they were also very much a libertarian. So you know what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm. And there are capitalist Jews for that matter too. So it's not, you know, it's like the whole like, oh, they did communism or whatever the hell shit like that. It's like, yeah, come on.
Well, there's even like what was his name? Gad Saad said that when he was growing up, people think like, you know, on this side of the street there's the Gentiles and Christians, and on this side of the street there's the Jews, and you think that's how it worked. When like, even though it's like, no, on this side of the street there's the Gentiles, and on this side of the street there are the Polish Jews, and on this side, and right next to that, are the Ashkenazi Bulgarian Jews, and on this side there are the German Jews. And he said, and if you heard my dad, he would say something along the lines of, "And you wouldn't catch me dead marrying a daughter to one of those pigs from the Polish side."
Oh, shit.
You know, and this is a Jewish man saying like there's tons of infighting amongst the Jews. Like,
oh yeah, one of the things that a lot of people don't really take into consideration is the labor Zionist movement, and that the labor Zionism is heavily dovetails with the kibbutzniky, and so all these kibbutzes that were a part of the early settlement of Israel. A lot of these people are very favored fundamentally a form of ethno-national socialism, and the Soviet Union was at one point kind of into them. They were kind of like, okay, we get where you're coming from, so you're going to be our satellite there, right? And then at a critical moment, Israel turned toward America. And that was it. And from that point on, it became Russian, you know, ties to all the surrounding and classical enemies of Israel. And and it was both ideology and statecraft, but of course, because of the way Marxism and Leninism and Stalinism was, that, you know, they had ideologues in the government. So, you know, it's like it's kind of retarded, you know, but that's how it ended up. And labor Zionism, Netanyahu is representative of when labor Zionists gained power. So this is when the laissez-faire nationalists started gaining power. Tom Hartman was way against this. He does not like Benny Netanyahu. So whatever Bernie Sanders and his ties to Israel, always being down for Israel, but also always being down for Israel as long as it's the Israeli left and in control, and the Democrats in control supporting the Israeli left, that was always his little secret that nobody really paid attention to during the campaign.
But you cannot question me, because I'm giving money back to the people, and I'm telling you that if I'm for Israel and the left-wing Israel, I am doing what is best for Israel. Even though my heart is in America, it is everywhere else. I sounded like
I know there's no way of doing Bernie without kind of going into some other accent of, you know, like that sounds even more preposterous. It's just too easy, you know. It's like it's just too easy. It's like, you know, he kind of sounds like this guy too. You know, it's like, yeah.
Look at you hiding like a little raccoon. You did the job there? No. I'm on the toilet and it won't come out.
I love how like Steven Crowder cannot stop making him sound like was it Guilford Godfrey, you know, that he always goes from Bernie Sanders to Guilford Godfrey like that. Like he just can't take the pedal. He can't back off the pedal, you know, all it's just like free shit for everyone. Yeah,
I'm telling you. I think he said that the reason why he does that is he can do a Bernie Sanders accent, but he says that Guilford Godfrey sounds funnier.
Yeah, that is true. That is, yes, it is.
Yeah. By the way,
God, that time he got cucked during his speech was just so epic. When Bernie got, to me, that was like one of the biggest chapters.
BLM people.
Yeah, that to me that because the whole thing that. I think is how there was like a dude with a ponytail and a perm in the background, like his arms crossed, like, yeah. And then like these girls are throwing their braids around, you know, and it was so like, it was not just that he got cucked, but it was like the least classy cucking ever. Like, no, like if it was like a woman in a dress, like, you know, like some, you know, like just some black woman in like a nice dress, you know, and that, you know, and it had some error of class. It would have been like, well, he got cucked, but it wasn't that bad, you know, because at least the act was good.
Yeah, but
this
that's
was just
too
like,
white, man.
this is the worst rap act
white.
ever. And that's how, yes, boom,
man.
there you go, yes. Right.
Imagine if it was like a white guy who liked to act black. Imagine how much worse it would have been. Like, you know, like, yo, my name is Littrell. I'm from the country. My original name be Crick.
If Talcum X had cucked him, that would have just been the, oh my God.
Oh, that would have been perfect. I would have loved
perfect.
That. Beautiful. But anyway, guys, we got to see Lauren worship at the feet of a Russian.
And your own future. It's just all very individualist minded on the left and the right, whereas Dugin brought an entirely different perspective where he kind of humbled away all of my 100% confirmation that individualism is the best, and it kind of put some cracks in it and was like, maybe your obsession with the individual is hurting your society as a whole and is what is causing for you to lose your identity overall.
Wait, obsession with what? I missed that part. He said obsession with what?
Is what is causing cracks in it, and was like, maybe your obsession with the individual is
obsession, because that's an accurate term.
Hurting your society as a whole and is what is causing for you to lose your identity overall, and for causing that defense of identity and culture to be disintegrated. And wow, just really opened up some new doors.
It was just so fascinating how blatantly and just confidently he was able to speak about such things as like identity or returning to traditional roots or the Great Replacement, things that if you mention these in America or Canada, it's like, whoa, suddenly it's like too spicy, you know, but just with such surety. He had
too spicy.
I think it's like with individualism, we're not saying like we shouldn't have a fucking country. Like those are only like really anarchist types, but like, you know, generally you should be able to do what you want to do. Yes, we do need some like social cohesion. We need sort of a sense of patriotism, but that doesn't mean like just because like we're not like we can't be strawmanned as fucking like ANCAPs or some shit like that. Like we're not saying that, or I think most people aren't saying that, but shit, we don't want to have like a fucking like monarchy or some shit like that. Fuck that shit. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like a communist monarchy. I think that's what he wants, a communist monarchy. Where the religion of the state is the religion of everyone. Everybody be Everybody Orthodox.
What how their ideas. I do find it interesting that it wasn't until Dugin's interview that they had really picked up on all of this. I had picked up on Dugin quite a number of years ago because of people referring to him in and so I was I still don't really, I can't pick out, say, Dugin's a quote from Dugin from, say, there's a guy Elaine in France. They would cite them a lot, and so I'm like, okay, who's this guy? Dugin, and had only recently been translated, and he was on kind of a internet speaking tour via Katahan Institute, and so I was like, okay, no, great, perfect timing. And the thing that I just find it interesting that I wonder, well, I guess I watched them enough to know their journey, but I just find it interesting that when that he is shocking to people, or he's really novel to people, that it's like, oh, okay, they apparently had not really done a lot of the read and research. I would have thought prepared for that, that argument. Yeah. But I get it. It's probably even if they knew about it, it probably was very different because he is quite the charmer, obviously.
Well, even then, I think it's really charisma and how he says it. But the thing is, women, I really hate to say it because they're women, because I even call Rush V and said that, hey, I know you call out Lauren Rose, not Southern, but Rose on Twitter saying oh, you're a female, so you're just getting beta orbiters to go to your Patreon, and she was like, hey, I don't have a Patreon, and he still was getting pissed. People like Rush V, I was like, oh, fuck off, dude. You clearly you ignored what she actually did, when she was doing her own work. This is Lauren Rose, by the way, not Lauren Southern. And then when you got proven legitimately wrong, she had no Patreon, at the time, no crowdfunding. Oh, it's just your woman. That's what people listen to you. Same thing with Lauren Southern and Brittany. Brittany is a little more softball. I don't think she tends to. She's not as involved. She's more Gen Identity's mouthpiece. I don't like how she never introduces her boyfriend as, this is Martin, my boyfriend. She never opens with that, by the way. She never reminds people.
Well, that's probably strategically.
Exactly. Just, what the fuck? They never kiss on camera or anything. But, by the way, this is Martin. He works for Generation Identity. Does not continue with. But here's the thing: I have openly defended Lauren Southern on multiple occasions because I've said, okay, she's actually gone to places and reported on stuff that nobody else does. She's there's been times she's openly apologized, but then when they were both in the Alps and they put up that stupid plastic fence around the Alps, and yet they spent all this P. Diddy style money on 3 brand new trucks off the lot, a plane that they now own. They own that shit. A helicopter that they bought, and another one that they rented. Also, they can get some B-roll of the mountains. Immediately, my bullshit meter lit on fire.
Wait. Hold on. I'm obviously behind on this part of the research. What is this?
So
a fence around a mountain?
Okay, so in the French-Italian Alps, they had a Defend Europe mission, a second one. I'll just show you a little bit of B-roll. I'll just do that real quick, then we'll get back to Dugin. But it just really showed the integrity. It was just not there. Oh, there we are. Hey, we're live streaming. Hooray! But it was, oh god, let me show you. Okay, so did I type in two? I typed in 2 R's. Fuck.
Oh wait, so this is when Lauren Southern is at the border, the Swiss-Italian French border?
Yes, just watch this. Watch this.
Okay.
Oh god damn it! I had it muted on the last one. Why did it not get muted this time? One sec. Okay. So look, this is the fence they put up. This is the fence they put up to protect the town. And guess what? Let me show you a little something. Let me show you something. Hold on. See, look at that. 3 brand new trucks, a whole bunch of cars, all following each other behind. Now watch this. Just okay, and of course there's some asshole with the guitar. Oh God, no! Fuck that dude. Fuck that one dude who's gonna be around the campfire, sing some lacrosse bro.
I rebuke you and your guitar. No.
And he's probably one of those douchebags that only drinks Grey Goose and wears a fedora everywhere. Fuck that dude. But anyway. Oh, and look, this is gonna make you giggle. This is gonna make you giggle. Just hold on. Let me get to the right part. Okay. So blah blah blah. There's a Defend Europe helicopter. They own that shit now. They bought a fucking helicopter. That they own that. That's their logo on there. There's no way they don't own it. Mission, yeah, just look. They get a helicopter. They go shoot some B-roll, and of course Brittany with that stupid shit-eating grin. Oh fuck. Oh, and there's another helicopter that they rented. That's their emergency, medical helicopter. And yeah, so they're in that too. Oh, and let me speed it up to when now look, they're in a plane now, and they own a plane. That's the Defend Europe logo right there. They spent all this money on these retard vehicles, 3 goddamn trucks, and some cars behind them. Okay,
This reminds me, there's a past, like one of those megachurch pastors. He's like, I bought a jet, cash, and then what I did? I bought another jet, cash. It's like, oh God. I mean, hey, you also have to remember that Lauren Southern came from Rebel Media, right? And yes. We all know what that dumpster fire was.
Now, all the mismanagement of all the money.
Now, I gotta admit, this could be.
I was going to say Brittany Pettibone is a part of Gen Identity, but I'm not. I'm an independent reporter. Meanwhile, if we go straight to her Instagram, like if we go into Instagram right now and we type in her name, just watch this little thing. I'll show you guys. This is my Instagram, by the way, so don't worry. Yes, this is clearly my Instagram. I mean, clearly this is my Instagram. So, so anyway, Lauren, yeah, there it is. So now look at this, Deus Vault Shop.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
As in Generation Identities, Deus Vault.
Oh, okay.
See this shit? Uh-huh. Like as in merchandise for Gen Identity, but I'm totally not a part of it, guys.
I mean, so at the very least, this is showing quite a bit of affiliation. At least you're saying.
Well, also, so in a sense, so the way because of my mentor and the way he mentored me in looking at the world years and years ago in San Francisco, so the similar kind of mentality I have. So no, what this is well, what legally bought that helicopter? Was it Lauren Southern Incorporated, or was it this or that company that maybe can get rolled over into a media firm? So now you have this media helicopter that you could rent out or lease out.
Oh shit! You just reminded me of something. Keep talking.
You could lease that out to, whatever Italian town that it happens to be in for their local news coverage but when you have a story you want to do, your company, you got, it's your copter, you get to use it as you wish. Then you got this fleet of vehicles. Oh, well, a company writes off its fleet of vehicles.
Guess what her email has? Guess what her email is for contacts? Just watch. Sales at republicdigitalmanagement.com.
Bam.
Boom, we found it. Boom.
See, it's not that it's, I think like a criminal It is that the law allows for you to own 3 vehicles and then write it off as long as you have a media firm that is a digital.
I don't know if she owns this or if she just uses them as a agency that she.
Bingo, bango, bongo. However it works, and because what are we? I mean, George Soros, he's not doing anything illegal. There's a law. There's a law for everything he does. There's a law there, So it's that these people are they're working toward their interests, and they will not be stopped. And they're building up their bulwark of information and money.
By the way, I gotta say, guys, I actually do have a GoFundMe to go to Poland. But here's the thing: I've gotten no donations, and I plan on starting my own business. So if I go somewhere, and I spend all this money on vehicles. I'm like, I have the money. Like where the money. When you buy my products, you know how I got my money. It's like Trump. He's like, I'm rich. I don't need to pretend. I don't need to eat bag. I don't need to. So if you guys would be willing to promote my products, like you see, the thing is, I want to create weapons, but the problem is it's taking a lot longer than I thought for the designs. So in the meantime, I'm starting up a second business, and this is what I'm going to start paying.
Wait, what kind of weapons? I had a question.
Oh, so first off, there's going to be a grenade that's designed to blast an EMP blast. It has a spear at the front and a cone to direct the blast, and you will shoot it at a car if you're a cop at the hood, and it will shut down the engine. Yeah.
Yeah, wait. That one, there's something in the market, but I don't know if it's widely used or if it's legal, generally legal yet. But I've heard of it. I've only heard of it existing. But hey, no, dude, go for it. No.
That sounds awesome, doesn't it? Just like totally. Shoot the hood of the car and then just shuts down the car. Well, it shuts down the engine. It shuts down the battery.
Yeah.
I mean, although one initial thing I'm thinking, you might have some competition with the 50 cal though, but
yeah. But I plan on starting a second business just here in Wisconsin, but I do want to sell some stuff online too. So if you guys would be willing to promote it, the second business is something I could get into more immediately. I went paleo, like the Paleolithic style diet where you don't eat any processed food. I thought the hardest thing is snacks because it takes forever to make a whole lot of snacks that can be counted as paleo. And so if you try to snack when you're on paleo, it becomes kind of a pain in the ass. So I thought about making a paleo snack company and even maybe designing some cookware to make cooking foods without needing to fry it or to put all these all the crap in it a lot easier. And I thought calling it straight from the cave. So I'm going to be going to a lot of like local farms and just buying in bulk, like eggs, fruit, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
Hey, right on.
Could work. Yeah. It's just a lot. Make sure you get like a preserving process or something down or whatever.
Yeah, I'll have a lot of dry foods, so it can be dry stored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like I'll have the type of banana chips that are not loaded with tons of sugar and additives. So what do you guys think? If I paid you guys, would you be willing to promote?
Oh well, also I'd probably be into if you have a constant line of various dried foods. I usually have to buy them bulk on Amazon. So I mean, shoot, I'd love to know somebody who had that kind of company. That's good. Yeah,
got a business deal. So I also have some ANCAPs I was talking to about other deals. But once I get this business up and running, I'll pay them as well, and I'll tell them, sorry, my weapons business is taking longer because it's complex designing of machines. And sometimes you need to test things in the field, which requires you to get permits, which costs money. So at least this way I'll have like a more simple thing that I can use as a backup, then create the second business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the point I was trying to make is, so I will start my own business and I'll be able to go to Poland and wherever I want in Europe purely on my own wages, literally on my own salary, on my own time when I want to. This woman here is getting this. I'm pretty sure she hired these people to manage her money that you are donating to her on the premise that let's take another dandy at that store there. You know that the Deus Vault store, Deus Vault shop. So you were buying. Let's see what it says. So shirts, nothing but T-shirts. It looks like you have T-shirts and a and of course her hedgehog on cover. You are buying merchandise. You're not buying an original product. You're buying stuff that she's selling on the premise this is going to be to fund my work and her and Generation Identity. And these funds go to a non-profit organization. And yet we gotta sell some choppers.
I mean, that's the thing is that's the way that a lot of charities. I mean,
Yeah.
just that's the way charities work. You know, it's like because they have those charities where it's like, oh, what? It's like some of them are like 10% of what's actually donated goes to what they're officially for and whatnot, and the rest is like. Administrative costs or some shit like that. Like
some bullshit administrative costs, right?
Yeah.
Like how the NFL only gives 5% of their profits, their net profits, by the way, after you pay all taxes and expenses from all those breast cancer merchandise. They only 5% goes to charity.
I mean, because the thing is, it's just like also with these mega churches. Like there was another pastor who's like, who was like, oh, we bought it for church purposes, and the church owns it, and oh, whoops, we took it to some resort place or whatnot.
Well, and I gotta admit, this is one of those things that I get in there where they're approaching this from is. If it's a nonprofit that is meant to get their political interests interpreted as they want to the audience, these are some of the tools of the trade of a burgeoning media firm. Because in the long run, I like doing let me put on the mask of Darth Vader. And how could the Empire actually be a great idea? And so it's like when I look at something like this, I'm like, oh, well, if I wanted to make sure, say, Red Ice TV was preserved, or I wanted to get Peter Sweden a permanent platform, this is where I would begin. Because there isn't a united, there's the internet, but there isn't a united platform of people in Europe who are saying dissident things against Brussels and the thinkers in Brussels and the EU and the borderlessness. And so I get where the strategy, it's a solid business strategy in the sense of making an Alex Jones-esque empire of dissident journalists, but in Europe. And yeah, that's what I would figure.
So, basically Fox News in Europe, essentially, against.
Wait! We mentioned Alex Jones' name. Great. Now our channels are going to be deleted. Thanks.
I know, totally. Boom.
I think specifically with H3H3, they were like streaming the stream or something like that, or something along those lines. I think, but they were talking about, they're watching him while talking about him, and got shut down. Like, holy shit!
Totally.
God, well, what's up, Mark?
No. I think it was like totally that it was like footage from the show or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I get. Yeah, they're thinking, how do I make passive income, or how do I stay in basically the editorial board, 10, 15 years down the line? Because I don't want to always do this on my feet. I want to, and because they could be on the editorial board of what this turns into 15 years down the line from their house, looking after the 2-3 little kids.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and then I would be like, well, you guys sold out and you dated 2 girls who basically ripped their way off to success. But hey, I hope it was worth it.
But we'll see. We'll see how it works out. You know, they gotta deliver. They gotta deliver the goods. They gotta deliver the goods to the audience.
Delivering anything. It doesn't. It seems like it's all just the same stuff we've all heard. Like it. Oh wait, hold on. You know what? I gotta show you the funny.
Well, I mean, what's the saying? That there's like a saying where it's like the young sharpen their teeth on the bones of the old.
Oh yes, that's a good one. Nice.
So this is basically that. It's using the same exact tools to just overthrow the. The overthrow, and then they 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, they'll be the old and decrepit, like the old guard or whatnot, and there'll be a whole new generation just sharpen their teeth. So,
well, by that time, the media platforms will be a whole new realm, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, and we, like Molly New really kind of makes clear, like we really can't imagine it, because subsequent generations will adapt to various forms of new media types, and so we just can't really imagine probably what it will be like in 40 or 50 years.
Yeah. So wait, I want to say something. So when I get wealthy enough, I plan on breaking the current media machine in Hollywood. Want to know how I do it? I start fighting
FBI.
What?
FBI?
No,
lock him up.
Well, this is Barack Obama, and I wanted to say I'm really sorry, but apparently everyone in Hollywood has AIDS. I don't know how that happened. I told them that gay stuff was fine. But no. I find it getting them to infight a lot, like different news organizations, so it kind of makes them fight amongst each other. And then, here's the big thing. I plan on holding competitions in Wisconsin and other states that are very conservative for here it is. So for like getting bands to be signed off on local records in those states that are very like freedom of speech. So in other words, competitions for like talents, like win $2 million if you are the band selected as the best band to come to this international competition held in fuck Milwaukee. We'll host it in like a place like Slinger, a conservative working class kind of neighborhood. Because fuck Milwaukee and Tom Barrett too. But we'll have like in like not Denver. Denver's like so like illuminated at this point. Like their airport was literally built by Masons, but whatever. We'll host it there, and basically people will have alternatives. And so once people start trashing, like once the mainstream media starts trashing, trying to unite to trash these competitions where there will be industries and alternative medias, then I'm going to also have PIs go into these medias and expose everything that will get people's emotions running, and just watch as they're infighting, the lack of it, the need for them as a media will, and the fact that they just got exposed to the public will destroy them. What do you think?
I missed a little bit at the beginning because I dropped out. But you were saying like competition? Is that
infighting in Hollywood? Exposure to their disgusting ways in Hollywood, and then finally, the last step will be alternatives. Multiple alternatives, all of which I will own, and then I'll own it for about 3 years and have competitions amongst business owners to prove that they are moral and for free speech. And I'll sell them all off and make them all sign contracts that say that if in order to own this business, you are not allowed for 10 years to buy any stock in any of your competitors, including to the other businesses that I just owned and sold off.
Mm-hmm.
This way, they will have to compete with each other. There will be so many states in the U.S. that will have alternative towns that will be their own Hollywoods. They'll all compete with each other for the attention of everybody, and they'll be shown all across the country and probably the world, their movies. And the idea will be that there will not be this Rockefeller-style monopoly on all media.
But by the way, when I meant by FBI, I meant specifically.
I thought you said STI.
No, FBI. You know, like the fucking James Gunn shit. Like, investigate that motherfucker. Like, you saw the pictures of his pedo-themed party.
Oh yeah, Will Ferrell and Will Ferrell.
Like, come on.
Did you hear about Will Ferrell and his like rebirthing ceremony where he got where his friend got pushed out of his vagina, like a giant paper mache one, and he had the dude sucking on his teeth. Yeah. And so like, well, no, I mean Hollywood is straight up satanic. So they want to invert everything.
That is so strange. Well, hey.
That's the point. They want to invert all social norms, and that's what they do. That's why they promote pedophilia.
What they should understand is that social norms help like glue a society together, so everybody knows how to treat everybody. Jesus Christ! Like,
well, I know they're anti-white in rhetoric, but I don't think they're actually anti-white. These globalists, I think what they are anti-social cohesion. If you break everyone and destitute them and make them nihilistic and consumerist and unable to have a decent family, what you do is you basically make everybody able to be a zombie and just conform to whatever you tell them to do. So I think that the point of the globalist objective is to just
but that's how you don't have a country anymore.
Yeah. Well, they don't want one. They want everyone to be on the euro, and they want to have all these poor people come in from third world nations, not because they like these people either. I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's that when you accelerate the rate at which a country dies, then you can get rid of all the countries that were already dying too. They're easy after that.
Well, there is also the thing that. Oh wow!
But that's anarchy,
some echo.
Yeah.
Oh shoot!
But the thing is the anarchy I'm talking about is one where all the rich people can now use that anarchy to then put a dictatorship over them. You first break the system down into anarchy, but then everyone's fighting for themselves, and then you just grab everyone, put them in a cage, and then reform them just to be consumers.
I mean, that sounds kind of almost like ANCAP society a little bit, but
it was planned out by the Soros, you know. So this way when I say you don't keep them in anarchy, you break them by causing anarchy, but then you put them into a fascist, like Adolf Hitler style kind of society. You take away their parents, and then you have them raised by the states. I mean, so it will be temporary anarchy designed to temporarily break the masses, and then it will be complete police state. You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying, Donovan? What do you think of this?
Well, I don't think that there is really as much to planning as what I've started to pick up on from the sort of idea of like these corporate types moving people around by the millions and such. I started to figure out like actually a lot of the way the demographics in even second world countries are, they're having just as much of a problem. They actually have a problem with there being lots of old and they're young not having opportunities because they're old are really sort of sucking up all the jobs. They're not leaving them. And it becomes the inverted pyramid of guarantees to the older are going to be too much, and that the people, the young at the bottom of the pyramid are not of such numbers. They get paid for that. And that appears to be almost everywhere throughout the first and kind of second world, and that they just have mismanaged this. They tried to centrally plan, and it's gone horribly wrong. And that we've seen the rise of crooks, just these politicians who are crooks, and they have no plan. They really don't have any long-term plan. They just are coming up with ways of getting money for their family for the next 20 years. Like Iran and the nuke deal, that a lot of that looks like all these politicians were going to just cash in on the uranium business. and I actually go with it. There's some famous saying about when it comes to conspiracies, it's more likely that it's stupid rather than it's like dumb luck that their conspiracy worked that way.
Oh, there's another razor called that. Not Occam's razor. There's a different razor. It's like don't attribute malice when it could be stupidity or whatever.
There we go. Bingo. And I think that one of the things we saw with the way that Putin did introduce ideas like this greater nationalism, that many countries could have their nationalism and just deal with one another in a way that's more libertarian, so that he basically threw something out there that everybody liked the sound of. Everybody, wait, more libertarian, you say? I am a libertarian. Yeah, nationalism. I like my country better than other countries. And it just made sense to, money. We could all make money. I all like money. And he sort of is offering that. And then for the preservation of people who they're old or dying at an inordinately high rate for any period of time because they've had such bounties to produce the old. They're like, you won't lose your people. And I mean, it's a great menu. There's something on it. It's got the egg rolls. It's got the noodles. It's got everything on it.
Even as I still the whole part of the money thing just reminded me when you said like, hey, if the Palestinians are coming over to Jordan with all that money, sing it a different tone.
Boom.
We got to kick out. Well, you know what? I officially say we should kick out the Palestinians and make them move to Jordan with millions of dollars.
You see, remember how like if you're around a college that you've probably noticed there's like people from the Emirates who will have like a Bentley their freshman year, and you're like, oh yeah, and it's like, imagine if there's not that many Palestinians, there's not that many Jews, but they got a few shekels, it's like, just give them some nice cars, have them drive across the desert there to Jordan. It can be done, I mean, they're like, nice car, and they're like, hey, do you want some shekels? Bam, and they're like, oh damn, come on in, it's like, make it rain shekels and
ladies and gentlemen, we just solved the problem in the Middle East all on a podcast.
Make it rain shekels. This is when we get kicked off. This is when we get kicked off.
See, the funny thing though is, if I recall correctly, Israel is already kind of doing that. Well, not for Palestinians, but
exactly
for like fucking. I think it's like African migrants or whatever that are coming to Israel. They're like, here's some money, get the fuck out. No! Literally, that's what they're doing.
There was something about, I forget where they came from, that they had tried to seek asylum, or they had gotten into Israel, but then it was like they're like, no, you've got to go home. And it was that they gave them all like, I think I thought it was like 10 G's. Holy fuck. Or it wasn't a bad amount of money, but I mean, it's like, okay, good luck in the Sinai and Egypt and wherever the fuck you have to cross to get home. I'm not exactly sure if they're Sudanese or what, but
they gave them 10 G's and they sent them on a private jet in a G7. Right?
I know that would be the way to do it. That would be
be like, we should do this more often. Go to Israel more often. They give us tons of money because they do not like us.
Well, and then of course I think there was then instantaneously more wall appeared somewhere. It's like that. It's just go boom. It's
It's amazing how the whole Middle East is like on board with the whole wall thing, but we don't know what to do. Like, we're like, hey, it's racist, and we're like, please let in the Muslims who build all these walls.
Totally. Oh my God, for real. And now it's like the fact that it's like this impossibility, it seems, at the border. And it's like, this has been like a law for 15 years. Like this has been on the books. There's been supposedly a budget for this supposedly put together. You know, like how is it suddenly everybody in Washington's like, oh, how does this thing work? This law and a wall? What is that? Like, it's just so it's so boomer. It's just so boomer-tastic. You know, I don't understand how to program the VCR, son, and I have to leave it to you. You know, it's just like we'll build the wall, Dad. You know,
can you please help me? I forgot the button that turns on my phone.
And I feel so bad because for the millennials, it's kind of like that it's really like, okay, Dad, I'll build the wall. You know, son, your mom will fucking kick my ass if I go along with this. So, and it's just, I mean, yeah.
Well, with so many millennials out of work, I'd be like, no, I'm going down to the border today. You know, I'll
imagine that project. I know, totally, dude.
Wait, are you Gen X? I can't tell. What are you?
Oh, technically, yes, I'm Gen X. Yeah. My generation was supposed to have figured out a lot of problems, but it was like we were addled and full of techno. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason why so many people go back to the annoying as hell 80s purple lighting aesthetic is because that's the last time we had culture, isn't it?
That's when actually I gotta admit the 80s had weird stuff happening, like legitimately, like an artist would come out and you'd be like, I remember actually the best example I have is when my dad, a beatnik, well, you know, white beatnik, marries a black woman. He is this guy Prince. And he goes, no, really, Donovan, you got to hear this guy Prince. He's really good. And, you know, and I'm like, you know, maybe 10 or 11 at the time. And I'm like, Prince, right. And then, of course, it's the biggest song on, it was like Purple Rain. You know, it's like one of the biggest albums of the 80s. And, or another was Taco, Putting on the Ritz, where it was this weird, but it was one of the catchiest albums. And he was doing something that was like nothing else. It was totally European. It had no... It was just its own thing unto itself. And so for a lot of us Americans at the time, you would only get just this little taste of what was happening in Europe through like some musician, like Falco. That was just the 80s. Falco and Blondie were like two of those things that were like, what is this? And it's just this they would just play a little bit of everything, mix new instruments in, and so it was weird and creative, and people would try shit that you like was just crazy. And by the 90s it started to become formula. A lot of formula started to happen. Oh wait, we're getting the sign, something happened. Audio is dead. Oh no. Okay. All right. So, Broken Heart, are you still there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, his audio is dead, but he's given us one moment. I don't know if he can hear us though.
I can hear you. Hello?
No, it's Arceon.
Oh.
On his camera, he's showing us audio is dead.
Okay, I can't. I'm on the phone, so like I get limited visual stuff. It's mostly audio.
All right. Yeah, Arceon. Yeah. So Arceon, you basically sound like a whisper in my ears.
I'm not hearing him at all, actually. Hello?